When you think about the food on your plate, do you ever really stop to consider the huge risks involved in actually getting it there?
Probably not often enough.
Exactly, or how those risks are managed financially. It's a journey that's often fraught with unpredictability for farmers all over the world.
Absolutely. More so now than ever, arguably.
So today we're diving into something called agriculture reinsurance. It's this critical but often kind of unseen safety net that really underpins our global food system.
Think of it like insurance for the insurance companies that cover farmers. It's about spreading these sometimes massive risks across the globe.
Right. So where are we getting our information for this deep dive?
Well, we're drawing directly from a pretty detailed analysis by Cognitive Market Research.
Yeah, specifically we're looking at excerpts from their report titled Global Agriculture Reinsurance Market, Growth and Forecast.
Okay.
And what's really insightful here, I think, is how the market figures in this report give us a clear window, a window into how the world is prepping for and adapting to these huge challenges. Like climate risk.
Exactly, like climate risk and also global food security. So our mission today, really, is to break down how this whole sector has evolved, look at the regional dynamics, and get a sense of where it's headed.
And we'll be using those specific numbers from the report.
Precisely. Highlighting the precise revenue numbers and growth rates. Because these aren't just abstract figures, are they? They really reflect very real global trends and vulnerabilities.
Okay.
For instance, the report, it actually details how increased market value in certain areas links up directly with how often extreme weather events are happening there.
So you can see a direct financial reaction to climate change on the ground.
That's it, a direct financial response.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. To truly grasp the scale of this, let's look at the numbers themselves. They tell a powerful story of expansion. The global agriculture reinsurance market, back in 2021, it was valued at $12,448.4 million.
$12.4 billion, roughly, yeah.
Right. Now, that figure is projected to climb quite significantly to $18,916.3 million by 2025.
So $18.9 billion. That's a fair jump in just 4 years.
It is, but then look at this. It's expected to surge, really surge, to a remarkable $43,679.8 million by 2033.
Wow, okay. So over $43.5 billion. That's more than triple the 2021 value in about 12 years.
Exactly. And this represents a strong compound annual growth rate, or EAGR, which is basically the average growth rate each year over that period of 11.028%.
Over 11% average annual growth. That's substantial. Consistently strong growth.
So looking back at these figures then, the big takeaway is that the global agriculture reinsurance market is seeing really significant and, like you said, consistent double-digit growth.
Yeah.
It just underscores how its importance is escalating really worldwide.
And if you connect that back to the bigger picture, right, this impressive expansion, which the report shows happening across all regions, it truly highlights how things like climate risk, the increasing frequency of crop failures we're seeing, and these urgent global food security concerns, well, they're all pushing for more robust financial safety nets for agriculture.
Makes sense. The risk is going up, so the mechanism to manage that risk has to grow too.
Precisely. And the report's outlook for this market reflects that. It's clearly described as one of resilience and continued expansive future growth.
Right. So what does this all actually mean for you listening right now? It does raise an important question, doesn't it? As this, critical sector continues its pretty dramatic growth, how might the strengthening of these financial safety nets, how might that impact the cost and the stability of your food supply?
That's the key question for consumers, definitely, and maybe even for investors.
Or even the future investment landscape in agriculture itself, yeah. Something to think about the broader implications of this, well, seemingly niche but clearly rapidly growing industry on our daily lives and the global economy as a whole. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're always trying to unearth surprising connections, often in places you might not expect. And today, we're diving into the global agriculture reinsurance market. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Insurance for farmers insurers. How's that relevant? Well, look, our goal here is to unpack how this seemingly niche area is actually right at the crossroads of some huge global forces. We're talking innovation, economics, climate change. We're going to pull out the really interesting nuggets from our source material and see how it all connects, maybe even back to the food on your table.
It really does. I mean, this sector is, Way more critical than most people realize, especially now, with the weather getting so unpredictable and markets being so volatile.
Hmm.
What we'll talk about isn't just what's happening in this sort of specialized field. It's really about why it matters. For everyone, everywhere, we're hoping to reveal some of those less obvious things that help keep our global food supply stable.
Okay, great. Let's get into it then. So, when we look at what's really pushing this market forward, the first thing that jumps out is rising prices, right, for agricultural products. But it's not just simple premium increases, is it? I mean, you look at 2022, corn and wheat prices just surged. That was down to supply chain issues, bad weather, and suddenly the stakes for farmers were just way, way higher. Their crops were worth a lot more.
Exactly. And that's where it gets particularly interesting for reinsurance. Because that jump in crop value, it doesn't just mean more risk for individual farmers. It actually shifts how people think about farm risk. It kind of moves from being just a local problem to more of a systemic global thing, which interestingly starts pulling in investors who maybe wouldn't have looked at agriculture before. It's this sort of financialization of farm risk. And yeah, naturally with higher stakes, farmers want better coverage. That means more premiums, more potential profit for reinsurers. Plus, it pushes farmers towards using advanced tech on the farm, things that reduce risk, which, lines up perfectly with what reinsurers want to see. It's this whole ripple effect, really.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. So risk perception is changing, money's flowing differently. But is the market just evolving because of the money? Or is there like deeper innovation happening too? Our sources really pointed towards customized, innovative insurance products being developed. Sounds like things are moving beyond the old models.
Oh, absolutely. A really big leap is parametric insurance. And the game changer with parametric, well, it's not just that it's faster. It's that the payout isn't tied to someone coming out and, assessing the actual damage on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, traditional insurance needs loss evaluations, all that paperwork. The parametric, it pays out automatically. Based on things decided beforehand, objective things, like specific rainfall levels hitting a certain point or temperatures going above a threshold, drought indexes. It totally changes how reinsurers can model their risk exposure, and it lets them cover areas that maybe were too expensive or difficult to assess before, especially, in developing regions where data might be patchy. It helps build farmer confidence, encourages investment. I mean, ultimately, it's shifting risk management away from subjective calls towards objective data. It's huge for speed, transparency, and just reaching more people.
That does sound revolutionary. But what about the edges? Like, what if the rain gauge says enough rain, but maybe one specific farm, because of its soil, still had crop failure? Or, what if the data itself isn't quite perfect?
Yeah, that's a really important point, and it definitely highlights some of the complexities they're still working through with parametric models. Look, the objectivity is a massive advantage for efficiency, for transparency, sure. But it does mean sometimes a payout might happen even if a specific farm wasn't hit exactly as insured, or maybe more worryingly, a farm suffers a loss but doesn't quite hit that precise trigger. That's why getting those thresholds right, making sure the data feeding into it is good quality, is just
Yeah.
absolutely crucial. The industry is constantly trying to make the models better, more granular, more accurate, often by, pulling in data from multiple sources. So yeah, it's a huge step forward, but it's definitely still a work in progress. Continuous improvement.
Okay, so it's a balancing act. And like any market, it's got its hurdles. The sources we looked at really emphasize commodity price fluctuations as, well, a major brake on growth. It's not just about lower premiums when prices fall, is it?
It's exactly. When prices drop, farmer income takes a hit. That makes it tough for them to afford insurance, especially if they see it as optional. But for the reinsurance sector itself, that volatility is a huge challenge. It basically means they have to keep reevaluating and repricing risk almost constantly, which is, tricky for an industry that usually relies on long-term stability and actuarial data. Imagine trying to price flood insurance for multiple years when what used to be a 1-in-100-year flood seems to happen every couple of years now. That unpredictability means they need much more agile pricing, nimbler risk models. And yeah, that can definitely put a strain on profits and market consistency. It's like this constant tightrope walk, trying to offer protection but also stay financially viable.
Wow, yeah, quite the challenge. So if volatility is the tightrope, what are they using for balance? How are they adapting? Let's maybe shift gears to some of the exciting trends, the tech side. How technology is providing like unprecedented insights. We touched on parametric and index-based models already, but now they're being supercharged by data, right?
You got it. It's the data that really unlocks that next level. We're talking about really deep integration of high-res satellite imagery, advanced data analytics, just across the board.
Yeah.
specific tech.
Yeah.
Drones flying over fields, IoT devices, so smart sensors measuring soil moisture, crop health, you name it, and AI models crunching all that data. They're using it to monitor crops, predict yields, assess damage, often in near real time. This allows for much more dynamic pricing, adjusting premiums with way more precision, and it just streamlines everything. Underwriting claims. What really makes a difference is how this detailed satellite data lets reinsurers make, well, just incredibly informed decisions.
Okay, so it's driving efficiency, precision, but what's the sort of wider impact of all this tech?
Well, beyond the obvious stuff like faster claim payments and less admin hassle,
Mm.
which is crucial, by the way, for getting farmers back on their feet quickly,
Mhm.
especially in regions where assessing losses the old way is really tough. Beyond that, these tools are enabling some pretty sophisticated early warning systems. They can actually help predict potential losses and maybe even mitigate them before they happen, which really just highlights how, as climate patterns get weirder, the whole agri-reinsurance sector is fast becoming this digital, data-driven ecosystem. Sure, it helps reinsure profitability, yes, but critically, it's also providing stronger, more proactive protection for farmers all over the world.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What we've sort of unpacked today is that this agriculture reinsurance market, it's really stepping into a new era, much more sophisticated, driven by crops being worth more, the demand for these tailored, data-heavy solutions, and just this massive digital transformation changing how risk is even handled.
Absolutely. I mean, while that price volatility is still a big worry, no question, the kinds of innovative solutions and tech we've discussed, they really are paving the way for, well, for greater resilience and scalability, too, in a pretty uncertain world. If you zoom out a bit, the need for strong, responsive reinsurance mechanisms, it's never been clearer, especially with the global food system facing all these ongoing pressures from climate change and market swings.
So maybe something to think about next time you sit down for a meal. Consider how all these complex financial tools and tech advancements in, yes, agriculture reinsurance, how they actually play a part in the stability and availability of the food right there on your table. And maybe mull over what future innovations could mean for feeding a growing, changing world. Food for thought, right?